Hey everyone! Imagine boarding a plane for a quick trip, but instead, you're trapped in a nightmare for days. On December 24th, 1999, Indian Airlines Flight IC-814 was hijacked, turning a routine flight into India's worst plane hijacking ever. 5 masked men took over, demanding millions and the release of terrorists. For 7 days, the nation watched in fear. Want to know how this unfolded? Let's dive into the chilling story of Flight IC-814 and its shocking twists. It all started on December 24th, 1999. Indian Airlines Flight IC-814 took off from Kathmandu, Nepal, heading to Delhi, India. It was a short 2-hour flight, carrying 179 passengers and 11 crew members. Everyone was relaxed, ready for a normal journey. Some were on holiday trips, others returning home. But none of them knew their lives were about to change. Just after takeoff, as passengers ate lunch, 4 masked men suddenly stood up. They grabbed the food trays and shouted, "This plane is hijacked." Panic spread like wildfire. The hijackers stormed into the cockpit, pointing a gun at the pilot, Captain Devi Sharan. They ordered him to fly west toward Pakistan, specifically to Lahore. Their plan was clear: take the plane to Pakistan and make big demands. They wanted $200 million from India and the release of jailed terrorists. The passengers were terrified, blindfolded, and forced to keep their heads down. The crew tried to stay calm, but the situation was dire. Meanwhile, Indian authorities learned about the hijacking at 4:40 p.m. Shockingly, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and his team weren't told until an hour later, at 5:20 p.m. Communication was already a mess. The plane kept flying past Delhi toward Lahore, but Pakistan's air traffic control refused to let it land. They didn't want a hijacked Indian plane on their soil. Captain Sharan radioed Indian authorities, saying the plane was low on fuel and the hijackers were getting angry. The hijackers threatened to kill passengers if they couldn't land in Pakistan. By 6:30 p.m., India's High Commission in Pakistan begged Pakistani officials to allow the plane to land in Lahore, but they still said no. Captain Sharan, desperate, told the hijackers the plane couldn't keep flying without fuel. He convinced them to land in Amritsar, India for refueling. This was a big moment. The plane landing in India gave Indian forces a chance to act. At 7:01 p.m., the plane touched down in Amritsar. This was India's golden opportunity to take control. The hijackers asked for fuel immediately, but things went wrong fast. Punjab's top police officer, Sarabjit Singh, had learned about the hijacking from TV news, not official channels. Can you believe that? A major crisis, and a key official found out from television? This showed how bad the communication was. India set up a crisis management group to handle the situation. Their plan was to delay the plane in Amritsar to give commandos time to prepare. But the hijackers refused to talk to local police. They only wanted to speak with Delhi officials. Captain Sharan kept begging for fuel, warning that the hijackers were ready to attack passengers. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. No fuel came. The hijackers grew furious. They attacked a passenger, Satnam Singh, injuring his neck with a knife. By 7:45 p.m., the crisis management group had a plan. They told Punjab police to hide officers near a fuel tanker to puncture the plane's tires, stopping it from taking off. It was a smart idea, but it never happened. Instead, air traffic control tried something else. They sent a fuel tanker to block the plane's path. The tanker moved too fast at first, then suddenly stopped. The hijackers noticed and got suspicious. They thought India was planning something. Frustrated and angry, the hijackers gave up on refueling. They ordered Captain Sharan to take off immediately, even without fuel. At 7:49 p.m., the plane sped down the runway, nearly hitting the tanker. It was a close call, but the plane was airborne again. India's big chance in Amritsar was gone. The National Security Guard commandos arrived at the airport just as the plane took off. The operation had failed completely. The plane was back in the air, flying from Amritsar toward Lahore, Pakistan. Captain Davy Sharan radioed a desperate message to air traffic control. "We are all dying." The plane was dangerously low on fuel, and the hijackers were furious. Lahore was only 50 kilometers away, but Pakistan's air traffic control refused to let the plane land. They didn't want this crisis on their soil. To make things harder, Pakistan turned off all runway lights and navigation aids at Lahore's airport. They thought this would stop the plane from landing, but Captain Sharan was under intense pressure from the hijackers. He had no choice. He had to land, lights or no lights. As the plane descended, he realized they were about to crash onto a highway. In a final plea, he begged Pakistan's air traffic control for permission. At 8:07 p.m., they gave in, and the plane landed in Lahore. India quickly asked Pakistan to stop the plane from taking off again. The Indian High Commissioner in Islamabad, G. Parthasarathi, was sent to negotiate with the hijackers. The plane was refueled in Lahore, but Pakistan's commandos surrounded it, and the runway lights were switched off again to keep it grounded. Pakistani forces tried talking to the hijackers, asking them to release women and children, but the hijackers refused. They were getting angrier. Tragically, they attacked another passenger, Rupin Katyal, a 25-year-old newlywed from Gurgaon. He was stabbed and later died. Despite the lights being off and commandos surrounding the plane, it took off again. How did this happen? Details are murky, but some believe Pakistan's authorities didn't try hard enough to stop it. The plane was now headed to Oman, but they were denied landing permission there. Next, it flew to Dubai's Al Minhad Air Base, landing around 3 a.m. on December 25th. After tough negotiations, the hijackers released 26 passengers, mostly women and children. India sent a special relief plane to bring them home, with Civil Aviation Minister Sharad Yadav on board. The freed passengers shared chilling details. Men were separated from women and children, and everyone was blindfolded. The hijackers used code names: Chief, Burger, Doctor, Shankar, and Bola. Surprisingly, one hijacker, Burger, tried to keep passengers calm by singing and joking, but conditions were grim. Food and water were scarce, and the plane's toilets were filthy. Others reported harsh treatment, like a mother whose crying child was yelled at by a hijacker. On December 26th, the plane took off again, this time landing in Kandahar, Afghanistan at 8 a.m. The Taliban, who controlled Afghanistan, offered to mediate between the hijackers and India. India didn't trust the Taliban, who surrounded the plane with armed fighters. India suspected they were protecting the hijackers, possibly with support from Pakistan's ISI. A special Indian team, including negotiator Ajit Doval, arrived in Kandahar to talk with the hijackers through the Taliban. For 6 long days, the passengers were trapped in Kandahar. The plane was a mess. Toilets overflowed, food ran out, and hope faded. The hijackers demanded $200 million and the release of 36 jailed terrorists, including Sajjad Afghani's body, a founder of the militant group Harkat-ul-Mujahideen. India faced huge pressure. Families of the passengers protested. India's negotiators, led by Vivek Kachu, worked hard. They managed to lower the hijackers' demands from 36 prisoners to just 3. The deal was done. India released 3 terrorists, and the hijackers freed the remaining passengers. But here's the shocking part. The Taliban didn't arrest the hijackers. The passengers finally came home on December 31st, 1999. Many were injured, starving, and traumatized. The good news? Since IC-814, no plane has been hijacked in India. New safety rules made airports and flights much stricter. How did this happen? That's a story for another video. This hijacking was a dark chapter, full of fear, mistakes, and lessons. If you want more stories like this, check out our videos on mysteries like MH370 or India's worst plane crash. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.